In the bleak Soviet landscape of the late 20th century, Andrei Chikatilo carved out a reign of terror so brutal that he would come to be known as the Butcher of Rostov. A seemingly unremarkable man, soft-spoken, bespectacled, and awkward, Chikatilo hid a monster within, one driven by rage, impotence, and a sickening bloodlust. Born in 1936 in Ukraine during the height of Stalin's forced famine, Chikatilo grew up in hunger, deprivation, and violence. Tales of cannibalism during those desperate times swirled around his childhood, a dark prelude to the horrors he would later unleash. Socially inept and sexually dysfunctional, he was humiliated throughout his life, fueling a simmering resentment that would eventually explode into murder. Between 1978 and 1990, Chikatilo lured his victims, mostly children, teenagers, and young women, to isolated forests, train stations, and abandoned lots across the Rostov region. His method was savagely personal. He would promise food, money, or safety to desperate wanderers. Once alone, he would pounce with uncontrollable violence. Chikatilo's attacks were a frenzy of blood and madness. He stabbed his victims dozens of times, sometimes over 50 wounds per body, often targeting the eyes, which he gouged out in a chilling attempt to destroy the last witness. He mutilated genitals, bit off nipples, and, in some cases, removed body parts to later consume. His sexual gratification came not from normal means, but from the blood, the suffering, and the sheer domination of his victims. The Soviet authorities, reluctant to admit a serial killer could exist in their perfect society, botched the investigation for years. Innocent men were arrested, some even executed, while Chikatilo prowled free, growing more brazen with each kill. It wasn't until 1990 that authorities finally closed in. Under intense surveillance, Chikatilo was caught near a train station, acting suspiciously around children. After days of grueling interrogation, he confessed to 56 murders, recounting each with chilling, clinical detail. He often smiled during his descriptions, utterly devoid of empathy. At his trial, Chikatilo ranted and raved, gnashing his teeth and exposing the madness within. Yet despite his theatrics, the evidence was overwhelming. In 1992, he was convicted and sentenced to death. He was executed by a single bullet to the head in 1994, a grim but fitting end to one of the most sadistic killers the world has ever known. Andrei Chikatilo wasn't just a serial killer. He was a predator born of brutality, an apex monster in a crumbling system that refused to see him until it was far too late.